Detroit. Scott Walczek. Ho, ho, ho. Fox 2 News.
Yeah.
The Edge at 11 starts now.
Tonight on The Edge, the pieces are coming together in a gripping case of a murdered pregnant woman in northern Michigan. The young mother's own family now charged in her grisly death. Fox News' Jessica Dupnick joins us in studio to fill us in. Jess.
Rube, so many people feared the worst for Rebecca Park and her unborn baby, and now we know both were murdered. Rebecca's biological mom and stepdad charged today in Cadillac, and the details are very hard to hear.
This case of premeditated torture and murder. These two individuals created a plan, conducted research. Ms. Bartholomew brought Rebecca to their home. They forced her into another vehicle and took her into the woods, where they stabbed her, forced her to lie on the ground while they cut her baby out, and ultimately caused her death and the death of the baby. They then left Rebecca in the woods. This is, frankly, evil personified, and I would ask the court to hold her without bond.
Cortney and Bradly Bartholomew charged with murder and 7 other felonies each, both denied bond. We learned officially in court Tuesday Rebecca's baby was killed, although a body has not yet been recovered. Now, Cortney was the last to see Rebecca, which raised suspicion for investigators early on. After giving her a polygraph late last week, she was arrested. There have been so many theories out there, including that the couple wanted to sell Rebecca's baby, but there is nothing definitive yet from police. Now, the baby's father and Rebecca's younger sister also charged last week on unrelated charges, but it does appear there was some kind of conspiracy that went on here. More to unpack. Roop.
All right, we'll be checking in again, of course, with that story. Jessica Dupnick for us tonight live. Thank you. A disgraced Rochester Hills doctor will be spending the next 35 to 60 years behind bars after pleading no contest to more than 30 charges of criminal sexual conduct. Prosecutors say Omar Ajaz molested patients at Henry Ford Hospital in Macomb. He also secretly recorded kids and women while they were undressing at a swimming school in Rochester Hills. Investigators say his wife discovered some of those disturbing videos, including footage of their own family. Deputies say they also found a video on the convicted predator's phone showing him sexually assaulting a young girl.
The court feels that this individual is a predator beyond all belief, and this court feels that he would never amend his ways even after serving time with the Michigan Department of Corrections. I do not believe the guidelines take into account all of this insidious and hideous conduct that has affected so many people. And the guidelines do not justify or do justice to the sentence that he deserves.
Henry Ford Hospital has agreed to pay $140 million to more than 8,000 survivors in a class action lawsuit. Investigators believe there could be more survivors, and they're urging them to come forward. A security slip-up is to blame for a student bringing a gun to an E-Corps school, according to the district superintendent. Dr. Joshua Tallison says police found a gun inside a backpack this morning at Parks Alternative Education Center. Thankfully, officers stopped the student before anything could happen, and that student has since been expelled. The superintendent says the school usually has a security officer on site to screen students through a metal detector, but that officer didn't make it to work, and the superintendent claims the security company never let school officials know. He calls this failure unacceptable, and they're working to make sure it never happens again. A recount in Hamtramck's mayoral election finding the same result. Adam Al-Harbi on your left is your winner, defeating Muhit Mahmood. It was a close race, just 6 votes originally separating the two. But today's recount found Al-Harbi beat Mahmood by 11 votes. Mahmood, who is on Hamtramck City Council, paid for the hand recount. One Michigan lawmaker is introducing a landmark bill aimed at keeping children safe online. The proposed legislation addresses issues ranging from cyberbullying and exposure to online predators to artificial intelligence. Let's get live to Fox News' Lauren Edwards. She has more with how the App Store Accountability Act is empowering parents while protecting kids. Lauren.
Roop, absolutely. That's what it's all about. At least that's what John James tells us it's about, because he says at any given time, anyone can go onto the App Store, download any app, and access any materials. And he acknowledges there are some restrictions in place, but there needs to be more, and they need to be significant. Let's get into the details of this bill so people can know exactly what it all entails. Now, it's called the App Store Accountability Act. And the author and Congressman John James specifically says the bill will require age verification to the App Store, require parental consent for users under 18 years old. And if you are under 18, it'll link your devices to your parents' or your guardian's devices. James says it's to make sure kids don't have access to age-restricted material online. And the bill gives parents another tool to keep their kids safe. And he says it holds tech giants accountable. Now, the bill coming just weeks and months, after a 16-year-old sadly took his own life in April after his parents say he had conversations with ChatGPT, confiding in an AI chatbot about his suicidal thoughts. And James says he hopes this legislation spurs further legislation to keep kids alive.
A human mind is not even fully developed until 25 years old, yet we are giving them technology that can manipulate them, that can lead them down dark paths that may lead them to addiction or worse, suicide. The stories are too numerous. And for those of you out there who are watching, if you've lost a family member due to this scourge of an uncontrolled social media or internet, you have my deepest sympathies. But we are working day in and day out to make sure that others do not fall down the same path, and that we are making sure that we learn from the mistakes of your tragedy.
Now, he has tried to introduce this bill in the past, but says this time around is getting a lot of traction, hoping that it will get a traction on both sides of the aisle, and that ultimately it will be signed into law. Again, just wanting to hold tech giants accountable, but also just giving parents another measure to keep their kids safe online. I'm Lauren Edwards on The Edge.
Yeah, Lauren, I guess the question I have is you have all these AI chatbots. You have all kinds of ways that people, can get around things online. What's being done if this does go through to safeguard that particular feature so that we know it's actually the young person who's trying to get in there and say that they are who they are?
Roop, I'm so glad you asked that question, because I asked that same question. People lie. People lie all the time, and he says what's going to do is also, if a parent is found to be negligible in anywhere, negligent, and their child is accessing this material, that the parents will then be held to task as well. So there's going to be a lot of accountability measures in this bill.
Yeah, you better believe mom and dad will be checking those phones and iPads even closer with that kind of a penalty on top of the initial reason for this. Good stuff. All right. Lauren Edwards for us live tonight. Thank you. And by the way, if you or anyone you know is facing a mental health crisis, you can call or text 988 for the Suicide and Crisis Hotline. It has an online chat and texting option and is available 24 hours a day. Full House star Dave Coulier is in another fight for his life. The 65-year-old is now battling tongue cancer 7 months after beating lymphoma. Let's get live to Fox News' Dave Kinchin. He spoke with specialists about potential symptoms and when any of us should see a doctor. Dave.
Yeah, the news really hit like something out of this left field, really, to know that a star that we love, a Metro Detroit native and someone we've loved watching on Full House, Fuller House, and other shows, Dave Coulier, is going through a cancer battle a second time now. The St. Clair Shores native says doctors found tongue cancer while performing his first regular checkup after he beat his previous cancer diagnosis, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. The 66-year-old alum of Full House, Fuller House, and many stand-up comedy tours called the news a big shocker and says tongue cancer is a little bit of a different animal. We spoke with experts at the Carmanos Cancer Institute in Detroit, and they say it's pretty common to have previous cancer diagnoses when finding a new head or neck cancer. Now, one oncologist says there are certain things you need to look out for in terms of symptoms.
Generally speaking, it'd be sort of a non-healing area on your tongue or the floor of your mouth or on your mandible, on your gums. A growth that is growing, bleeding when you're brushing your teeth is a common thing. People will say that they couldn't really see something underneath their teeth, but every time they brush their teeth there, they'd get a little bleeding, and it would just never stop. And they went to and eventually a lot of times they would end up at their dentist looking for things like gingivitis or other gum disease, and would be found to have a mass there. And so typically, to get a cancer of the tongue, there is some sort of mass or a non-healing area.
You hear from other patients, they say they have to kill you in order to save your life, and that's kind of what they're doing, they're killing bad cells, you know, and they take some good cells with you at the same time.
That's Dave Coulier speaking with our Jay Towers, really after he was declared to be cancer-free from the non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He went through several rounds of chemo there, and it got very scary at one point when he became very sick. Thankfully, made it through that. We understand now he is undergoing radiation for the tongue cancer, radiation that will continue at least until the end of the year. Experts do say that surgery is an option, especially for early cases of tongue cancer as well. Reporting live, Dave Kinchin on The Edge.
Handshakes all around this afternoon at Michigan State University as the school welcomes its next football coach. Pat Fitzgerald is taking over the program, signing a 5-year, $30 million deal to lead the Spartans. The former Northwestern coach talking about what this moment means to him and the future of football in East Lansing. Coming up on the Sports Edge in about 15 minutes.
Or they shackled her around her ankles, around her wrists, around her waist.
A college student getting the shock of her life when she shows up to the airport and police arrest her. Why they paraded her around like a prisoner. That's coming up on The Edge. Rich.
Roop, it's pretty cold out there. A lot of us are in that 20, 25 degree range, and these numbers will slide a bit more. On average, we're going to be down to 20 with some areas of fog and haze. No warm up in sight. In fact, it gets even colder for your Thursday. We'll check it all in the 7-day after the break. Live.